Hi everyone, my name is Jamie and welcome to my new YouTube channel, Yu Ying World. This is my first video and I am so excited to get started. So for my first video, I will start by talking about the 4th of July. Last weekend was the 4th of July weekend, a time that usually means celebration, going to the beach, and seeing, admiring fireworks. It is usually time for picnics, for gatherings of friends, families, even strangers sometimes if you're going camping. It is a time of laughter, a time of creating new memories to go in your journal. Why? To celebrate America. I remember in the past few years, our family would always take a trip to the shores and spend the entire day there. Some of it would be spent in the sand, making sandcastles or whatever, and some of it would be spent in the water, making big loud splashes and diving underwater. And then when it gets dark, we would watch the fireworks. Hundreds of people just lined up on the sand, gazing at the bright sky that is lit up by colorful fireworks. Some that come in those smiley face shapes. Some that come in those flowery-like shapes. And some that come in those glitter-like shapes. As you're watching these fireworks, your heart seems to be pumping along with the beat of the fireworks. The whole atmosphere is just filled with happiness and joy, making the 4th of July a hard-to-forget experience. But this year, 2020, was totally different due to the coronavirus pandemic that led us to quarantine. A lot of beaches shut down, as large gatherings will promote the spread of the virus. This is indeed the safer approach, but those who are planning on going to the beach to spend this year's 4th of July suddenly had to change their plans. I know we did. For months now, we have been placed under quarantine rules. No going outside of your community, no traveling, and much more restrictions. At first, I was totally fine with it, since it almost seemed like a break. But as time carried on, quarantine became more and more challenging to cope with. So this 4th of July, I wanted to be anywhere but at home. We knew it wasn't safe to go to the beach, nor anywhere else where there's too many people, so we finally settled for a road trip. In fact, I've always wanted to go on a road trip, where we kind of just drive anywhere for a couple hours, and then use the GPS to get back home. And this year, although we didn't really need the GPS because we couldn't go that far out or else we'd end up in another state, but my dream finally came true. So at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon of July 4th, we packed some food, some drinks, got in the car, and headed on the road. At first, I was scared that we'd just end up in another place that we've been to several times in the past, but I was surprised. Very surprised. We live in New Jersey, and we don't really travel a lot within the state because when we do travel, we try to go as far from home as possible. But what I didn't know was that the places we've never visited in New Jersey are actually so cool. My eyes were literally fixed in a position straight out the window. I have never seen any mountains, farms, or just very large and natural areas where we live, because usually the car is used to busily get from one place to another. Sometimes I even sleep in the car, just to get a break between activities. But on this road trip, we were able to just calm down a little and enjoy. As a result, we saw all three of those things: mountains, farms, and just huge areas of plain fields. I even remember saying, well, at least we finally get to experience why we are called the Garden State here in New Jersey. With the large mountains surrounding all four sides, it was like we were in the center of a volcano. Yet with the entire floor covered with green, it was like we were in a large nest of a bird. And no matter how far we drove, it was like we were stuck in the center of a circle. It wasn't us moving forward, but the growth moving behind us. Outside, there was warm weather, about 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit with slightly cloudy skies. But my eyes were not on the sky. It was on the beauty of the land. I also noticed on the road that there are several sculptures of oxen. After noticing this pattern, I remember asking my mom, why are there so many sculptures of oxen? My mom answered saying that, from her perspective, the ox is a representation of strength and of persistence to success. As we continued, we arrived at this very long driveway, and the house that owns this driveway is probably about 100 meters away. At the front of this driveway, so where the road is, there was this giant ox. But it wasn't the size of this ox that set it apart from all others, but also its creative design. There are all different kinds of colors, shapes, patterns, drawing, etc. Of course, we took some pictures. Later on, I saw another sculpture of an ox on the road, and luckily I was fast enough to be able to capture a picture of this one. This ox seemed more special, since the design made it seem like it was a picture from the 1900s. This picture mainly shows two people, farmers it seemed like, who are gardening. After all, our state is the Garden State. By this time, we were already starting to head back home. Although our road trip was only around 3 hours in total, it really opened my eyes and allowed me to see another perspective of New Jersey. And I know quarantine is still going on, and there's not much traveling to other states, but I really learned a lot from my state, and I'm truly grateful for that experience. I want to talk a little more about the oxen we saw on the road trip. As I have mentioned before, the ox is a representation of strength and of persistence to success. So what does that look like? Let's give an example with bulls. When a bull sees a person holding up a piece of red cloth, they charge toward it with all of their strength, never giving up until they successfully project that piece of cloth off of the person's hand. This simple example touches two words, strength and persistence. Strength because the bull must obviously be very strong. Persistence because no matter how hard things can get, you must fight and be willing to fight through it. And it's really the same for people too. And that's it for my first video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video.